Hello, everyone. I'd like to welcome you all to the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Services virtual public meeting for the alligator snapping turtle. We are going to give folks a few minutes here to join the meeting, and then we will begin the PowerPoint presentation shortly, so please stay tuned. I do want to note that closed captioning is available by selecting the closed caption icon located at the bottom of your Zoom screen if you are using the Zoom web portal or Zoom application on your computer today. Again, welcome everyone to today's meeting. We are going to give folks just a few more minutes here to join the meeting, so please stay tuned and we will start the presentation shortly. Again, I do want to note that closed captioning is available by selecting the closed caption icon, which is located at the bottom of your Zoom screen if you are using the Zoom web portal or Zoom application on your computer today. Thank you. Hello, everyone. We're going to go ahead and get started with our meeting today. I would like to thank you all for joining us. We appreciate your time and participation. My name is Amanda Biederman with Environmental Management and Planning Solutions, a contractor for the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, and I'm going to be one of your meeting facilitators today. Additionally, we do have several members of our U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service internal team with us on the meeting today. And you can see all of those team members who are labeled with a USFWS label before their name in the participants list. If you go to the bottom of your Zoom screen, you can click on that participants icon, and you can then see our full participants list today. On the screen is our expected agenda for the meeting today. I will first go over some brief ground rules for today's meeting. The U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service will then provide a PowerPoint presentation on the proposed rule, which will last approximately 20 to 30 minutes. The service will then answer any questions you may have about the proposed rule for about 30 minutes in a question and answer session. We will then begin our verbal public comment portion of the meeting, starting at 7:30 p.m. Central Time. And the verbal public comment portion of today's meeting will last until 8:30 p.m. Central Time. Before we get started with the presentation today, I'm going to go over some ground rules for the meeting. First, this meeting is being recorded as part of the project record, and a recording will be posted to the Fish and Wildlife Service website. Second, participants' microphones and videos will be turned off for the duration of the meeting today. You will only be unmuted if and when I unmute you during either the question and answer session if you're a phone caller, or during the verbal public comment portion of the meeting. Questions will be addressed during the question and answer session after the PowerPoint presentation. We will do our best to address questions in the order they come in to allow everyone an opportunity to voice their questions today. After the question and answer session, again, we will then move into the verbal public comment portion of the meeting, during which time we will accept verbal public comments from participants who have joined today's meeting. If you registered before the start time of today's meeting and indicated that you wanted to offer a verbal public comment today, you received a separate email stating that you would be called on during today's meeting to provide your verbal public comment. If you registered after the meeting started, we will do our best to reserve some time for you to have an opportunity to offer your comment today as well. If we have time remaining after we have gone through our list of pre-registered commenters, we will then open the verbal public comment portion of the meeting up to anyone who would like to offer a verbal public comment today who has not already done so, regardless of whether you selected yes or no to commenting when you registered for today's meeting. If you do not get the opportunity to offer your verbal public comment today, written public comments can be submitted at regulations.gov. And you can see on the screen, if you go to regulations.gov, you can type into the search box FWS-R4-ES-2021-0115. And we will provide a little bit more information on how to submit your written comments at the end of the presentation. At this time, I'm now going to turn it over to Bridget Furman with the Fish and Wildlife Service, who is going to lead us through the service's PowerPoint presentation today.
Good evening, everyone. Can everyone hear me?
Yep, we can hear you.
Thank you. As Amanda indicated, my name is Bridget Furman, and I serve as the lead biologist for the alligator snapping turtle, Macrochilus teminckii. I'll be providing a short overview of our proposed action. A copy of these slides is available on our website if anyone on the phone would like to follow along, or if anyone would like them for future reference. On November 9th, 2021, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service published a proposed rule to list the alligator snapping turtle, Macrochilus teminckii, as threatened with a 4D rule. The public comment period is open for 60 days. Comments must be submitted on or before January 10th of 2022. Comments may be submitted at the public hearing later this evening, online, or in writing. We will publish a final rule within 1 year or by November 9th, 2022. Next slide. A species status assessment was compiled using the best available scientific and commercial information to describe the species and its current and future viability. We present the life history, biology, threats, and conservation actions acting on the species now, and we project the future viability using several scenarios of factors acting on the species. The species status assessment includes input from species experts, partners, and peer review to ensure scientific integrity of the report and its analyses. The species status assessment report that was used in this listing decision is available on the species profile page on the Services Environmental Conservation Online System, known as ECOS, and also in the docket in regulations.gov, which information to access that will be provided at the end of the presentation. Next slide. I would like to take a minute to discuss the differences between the three large freshwater snapping turtles. The common snapping turtle is generally much smaller in size, rarely surpassing 30 pounds. Its carapace is relatively smooth. Its beak is less prominent, and its head is smaller in relation to its body size. The alligator snapping turtle is distinguished by its large size, with males weighing up to more than 200 pounds. It has 3 rows of spikes on its carapace and a large head surrounded by pointed fleshy projections. It has a prominent beak and an appendage in its mouth that acts as a lure for prey. It has a long tail and muscular legs with webbed toes and long pointed claws. It is found only in Gulf draining rivers. The Suwannee alligator snapping turtle looks very similar to Macrochilus teminckii, but it is found only in the Suwannee River Basin in northern Florida and southern Georgia. The currently proposed action is for the alligator snapping turtle, Macrochilus teminckii. Next slide. The alligator snapping turtle is the largest freshwater turtle in North America. They are secretive and mostly aquatic. Usually, only the females leave the water for nesting. Notable characteristics include a specialized appendage in the mouth used as a lure for prey, a hooked beak, 3 rows of spiked scutes on the carapace, webbed toes with long claws, and a cross-shaped plastron. Next slide. The most important life history parameters to note here are that the species is long-lived, it is late to sexually mature, and it has low nest success with impacts from predation acting on both the egg and hatchling life stages. The result is that it takes this species a long time to increase in population numbers. Next slide. The teminckii species of alligator snapping turtle is primarily associated with freshwater bodies centralized in the southeastern United States and is confined to river systems that flow into the Gulf of Mexico, extending from the Apalachicola River in Florida to the San Jacinto and Trinity Rivers in Texas. In the Mississippi alluvial valley, the species is widely distributed from the Gulf to as far north as Indiana, Illinois, southeastern Kansas, and eastern Oklahoma. In the Gulf coastal plain, the species range extends from eastern Texas to southern Georgia and northern Florida. The historical range of the alligator snapping turtle includes 14 states: Alabama, Arkansas, Florida, Georgia, Illinois, Indiana, Kansas, Kentucky, Louisiana, Missouri, Mississippi, Oklahoma, Tennessee, and Texas. Currently, the species is known to occur in 12 of those states, which includes all of the historically occupied states except for Indiana and Kansas, where occurrence is unknown. The species range has also contracted in 5 states: Illinois, Kentucky, Missouri, Oklahoma, and Tennessee. Next slide. Current threats for alligator snapping turtle include incidental hooking, commercial fishing bycatch, legal harvest, poaching, and nest predation. Of the listed threats on this slide, we concentrated on the threats identified by experts as having the greatest impact on the species for modeling the current and future conditions. We addressed the threats of predation, harvest, and bycatch in the current and future conditions analyses to describe the species' viability. Next slide. This slide provides an overview of the individual states' status for the species. Please note that current species abundance in Indiana and Kansas is unknown, and that Louisiana and Mississippi still allow for recreational harvest. Mississippi has a size limit restriction, while Louisiana does not. Next slide. Here is a sample of additional conservation actions that are occurring for the alligator snapping turtle, but please note that this is not an exhaustive list. I also want to mention that there were 30 adult turtles from Texas and seized during a law enforcement case in 2017. Those 30 adults were cared for at the Natchitoches National Fish Hatchery in Louisiana, and the Arlington, Texas field office worked with law enforcement, the Sabine River Authority, the Texas Department of Parks and Wildlife, and other partners to return 27 of those 30 turtles, as well as 7 of their offspring, to their native water bodies in Texas on June 22nd of this year. In addition, other organizations and NGOs, such as the Turtle Survival Alliance North American Freshwater Turtle Research Group, continue to focus on turtle conservation, including the alligator snapping turtle. They also provide assistance with population monitoring and survey efforts. Next slide. We delineated 7 analysis units to describe the species' resiliency. These units were based on the genetics, the HUC2 watershed boundaries, and a temperature gradient related to nesting. Analysis units were determined to be small enough to capture the variation in the species condition, such as abundance or threats, across its range, while also retaining units large enough that species experts would be able to summarize information about the condition of the species for every unit. There was insufficient information for model inputs for 3 of the 7 units. Those are indicated by the red dots with the X's in them. Thus, they were not included in the future conditions model. Based on the information we did have, however, we have no reason to believe that the threats would act differently on the species in those 3 units. For the remaining 4 units, the team used the best available information as provided by experts and existing literature at the time of the analysis to better understand the threats. We developed the elicitation process to gather expert perspectives systematically by analysis unit. Next slide. For resiliency of the current condition, please note the estimates per analysis unit range from 200,000 to 212 turtles. And the most likely estimate of range-wide abundance is 361,213 turtles. For representation, please note that no representative units have been lost compared to the historical distribution. And for redundancy, the species still occurs in all historically known states, except for Indiana and Kansas, where its persistence is still unconfirmed. Next slide. Six scenarios were modeled to assess future condition of the species projected out to 50 years. The threats for which we had sufficient information include bycatch from commercial fishing, recreational fishing, hook ingestion, poaching, and nest predation. 3 scenarios included conservation actions, and 3 scenarios did not include conservation actions. We conducted a sensitivity analysis after we conducted the modeling and found that adult female survival and juvenile survival have the greatest impact on the population. That sensitivity analysis also indicated that of the threats that were modeled, illegal collection and hook ingestion had the largest impacts on population growth. As noted on this slide, the results for the future condition of the species indicate that all analysis units are expected to lose resilience at such a high rate that redundancy is not expected across the landscape. Likewise, as resilience decreases in all units, we also expect representation to decline rapidly. Next slide. This slide gives a visual representation of the model outputs for the future condition of the species as described on the previous slide. The solid line depicts scenarios where there were no conservation actions, and the dotted line depicts scenarios with conservation actions occurring. As you can see, the conservation scenarios buy us a little more time, but do not change the trajectory. Please note that the spike in graphs for the Northern Mississippi East Analysis Unit, which are in the bottom left of the picture, is directly related to introductions that are happening now. However, as you can see in the graph, the effects of that conservation effort, if not maintained, do not change the overall declining trajectory. Based on the responses we received from the experts, we would expect threats to act on the species in the same manner and the 3 analysis units that were not modeled. If you would like more information about the model and the analyses in the species status assessment, it is available on the species profile homepage in ECOS and also in the docket for the rule in regulations.gov. Next slide. Under the U.S. Endangered Species Act, a threatened species is defined as a species that is likely to become an endangered species in the foreseeable future throughout all or a significant portion of its range. When a species is listed, federal agencies are required to consult with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service before they authorize, carry out, or fund any activity that may impact a listed species. The provisions of the 4D rule would promote conservation of the alligator snapping turtle by prohibiting harvest and encouraging implementation of best management practices for activities undertaken in freshwater wetlands and riparian areas to minimize habitat alteration to the maximum extent practical. Next slide. The provisions of a 4D rule are closely tied to the species needs and primary factors influencing the species viability as identified in our analyses in the species biological status. Public involvement during a rulemaking process can also help us identify those activities and programs that may affect the species, as well as potential changes to the protections. Next slide. All threatened species must have a 4D rule in order to provide protection to the species. Here are the main details of this proposed 4D rule. Some of the general exceptions would include actions such as captive breeding and head starting programs, turtle farming, and rehabilitation facilities. Exceptions for incidental take include such activities as silvicultural practices and in-stream activities associated with construction, operation, and maintenance activities. Through the public comment period, we are asking for information concerning whether the measures outlined in the proposed 4D rule are necessary and advisable for the conservation and management of the species. We particularly seek comments concerning whether we should include a provision accepting incidental take resulting from legal, recreational, or commercial fishing activities for other species in compliance with state regulations. In addition, if we include such a provision, whether we should also include a requirement to report to the service injured or dead turtles resulting from such legal fishing activities and how such reporting should be conducted. Whether the provision accepting activities such as take and interstate commerce for captive bred specimens from state-approved captive breeding operations should be revised or clarified regarding additional restrictions or requirements or best management practices, or whether the service should also accept from the prohibited activities the foreign trade of live specimens from captive breeding operations. Whether the provisions accepting incidental take resulting from construction, operation, and maintenance activities, pesticide and herbicide application, and silvicultural practices and forestry activities that follow best management practices should be revised or clarified to remove or add information, including spatial or temporal restrictions or deferments, or additional best management practices. Whether there are additional provisions the service may wish to consider for the final 4D rule in order to conserve, recover, and manage the alligator snapping turtle, such as allowing take associated with certain infrastructure and other construction activities, riparian management activities, or wetland management activities. Methods for identifying, marking, and tracking captive broodstock to differentiate them from wild stock, and whether there are any additional management activities not described within this proposed rule that contribute to the conservation of the alligator snapping turtle. Next slide. The service has determined that designation of critical habitat may be prudent for the alligator snapping turtle because 4 of the 5 circumstances have not been met for determining not prudent for designation. However, it is unclear whether identification and mapping of critical habitat would increase the degree of threat to the species due to collection of the alligator snapping turtle. Accordingly, we are seeking public comment on whether the designation of critical habitat may not be prudent because it would more widely announce the exact locations of alligator snapping turtles and their highly suitable habitat, which could facilitate poaching and thereby exacerbate the threat of collection and contribute to further declines of the species' viability. The service has determined that designation of critical habitat is not determinable at this time because we do not have sufficient data to perform the required analyses. The Endangered Species Act allows the service an additional year to publish a critical habitat designation that is not determinable at the time of listing. Next slide. Throughout the process, we have gathered all available information. When information was not readily available, we requested information from experts to inform the science. We have used the best available information and continue to coordinate with states, Fish and Wildlife Service programs, and other partners to ensure that we have used the best available information. We are requesting information to help us better understand many of the uncertainties associated with this species. Through the public comment period, we are asking for more information on threats to the species, particularly information on the frequency of hook ingestion and entanglement associated with recreational or commercial fishing, effects on individual survival, and any population impacts, the magnitude of poaching and any population impacts from poaching, and nest and hatchling predation rates and effects on recruitment and any population impacts. We are also seeking information, especially from the commercial and recreational fishing communities, about the design of a turtle escape or exclusion device, modified trot line techniques, or any other practices that would effectively eliminate or significantly reduce bycatch of alligator snapping turtles from recreational or commercial fishing. Next slide. To summarize, the proposed listing of the alligator snapping turtle would require federal agencies to consult with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service before they authorize, carry out, or fund any activity that may impact a listed species. The proposed 4D rule would prohibit harvest and promote conservation of the species. The service is requesting additional information regarding the species' life history, distribution, threats, and conservation measures, the importance of the species in tribal use and cultural significance, information regarding devices and technology that could reduce bycatch of the species, as well as information regarding the risk and benefits of designating critical habitat for the species. Next slide. Public comments on the proposed rule can be submitted anytime on or before January 10th of 2022. Comments can be submitted verbally during the public hearing from 7:30 to 8:30 p.m. Central Time tonight via this same Zoom platform. Comments can also be submitted electronically through regulations.gov or by U.S. mail at the address on your screen. Thank you for your time this evening, and for your interest in the alligator snapping turtle. At this point, I'll turn it back over to Amanda, who will explain the logistics for the question and answer session.
Great, thank you, Bridget. And I'll just leave this slide up here shortly so that you can see the photo credits for all of the great photos used in the presentation. All right, so at this time, we're going to go ahead and get started with the question and answer portion of today's meeting. Again, my name is Amanda Biederman with EMPSI, and I'm going to be acting as the moderator for the question and answer session today. This Q&A portion will last until 7:30 p.m. Central Time, when again, we will then start that verbal public comment portion of the meeting. So the intent of this question and answer session is to answer any substantive questions you have for Fish and Wildlife Service staff on the proposed listing and 4D rule. So if you have a verbal public comment that you would like to make, please save it for that verbal public comment portion. So I will first go over instructions for how to submit a question using the chat function. If you are using the Zoom web platform or Zoom application on your phone or computer, after we have gone through questions submitted via that chat feature, we will move on to any participants who may join calling in over the phone who would like to ask a question. So please stay tuned for those instructions. I don't see any phone callers at the moment, so I will skip over those instructions unless I see any phone callers join. So at this time, if you have a question and you are using the Zoom web platform or Zoom application, please go ahead and click on the chat icon located at the bottom of your Zoom screen. If you hover your mouse over the bottom of your Zoom screen, that chat icon should appear. You may need to exit out of your full screen view in Zoom to see the chat icon as well. And again, I have included a graphic, as I just pointed to, on the screen of what that chat icon looks like and where you can find it. You can then type your question into the chat box, and please send it to the host of today's meeting, Clayton McGee with EMPSI. Please send it to him and not over to me. I will then read the question aloud for all participants to hear, and a Fish and Wildlife Service staff member will respond to your question aloud. We will try to answer your questions in the order that they are received, but please note there may be a pause between asking your question and a Fish and Wildlife Service staff member answering your question. Also, we do have a lot of participants on our meeting today. We have about 90 total. So just please be aware of how many questions you're asking and make sure to pay attention so that you know if another participant might ask your question and you can get the same answer that you were hoping for. So at this time, I'll wait to see if we've received any questions from participants today. Again, you can send your questions over to Clayton McGee using that Zoom chat feature. Again, you can send your questions over using that Zoom chat feature to Clayton McGee. And we do have our first question from participants, question number 1. Let's see, which is, how does road and bridge construction impact alligator snapping turtles? And what BMPs can DOTs implement to reduce take? And I'll go back to Bridget Furman to start us off with a response, and then we'll see if any other Fish and Wildlife Service staff members want to chime in here. Let's see, I've unmuted you from my end, Bridget. I'll try again here.
Thank you, Amanda. I have it. At this time, we don't have specific BMPs directly related to road and bridge construction for alligator snapping turtles, but I would recommend that if the state that you work in has those BMPs for that particular action, that you would consult with the state that you're working in for those BMPs. Also, most states have BMPs for potential impacts to water quality or loss of woody cover. And if you can reference those BMPs to consider for road and bridge construction impacts for that species. Also, you can consult directly with your local Fish and Wildlife Service office.
Great, thank you, Bridget, for that response. We will move on to question number 2 from participants, which is there a list of construction and dredging BMPs that are proposed, or would the states propose them? And I will go back to you, Bridget, to respond to that question. Let me see, let me unmute you. There we go.
We do not have a complete full list of construction and dredging BMPs. That is something that normally most states have individually. So again, similar to the bridge and construction BMPs, I would recommend that you coordinate with the state in which you're working. Also that you would coordinate with your local Fish and Wildlife Service office.
Great, thank you, Bridget, for that response. I'll put you back on mute and we can move on to our next question. Question number 3, which looks like I'll just go ahead and answer. So the question is, when will this recording be available on the website? And the Fish and Wildlife Service said that the recording will be available on the website within the next week. And we'll just continue to move on to our additional questions received today. Again, you can go ahead and use that Zoom chat feature at the bottom of your Zoom screen to send your questions over to Clayton McGee. And he does have an EMPSI label before his name if you're having any issues finding him on the chat feature, but hopefully everybody can access him easily. All right, we'll move on to question number 4 received from participants. And the question is, how would listing affect institutions that keep alligator snapping turtles for both zoos and non-zoo captive facilities? And I will go to Karen Marlowe with the Fish and Wildlife Service to respond to that question. And Karen, I've unmuted you from my end. You might need to unmute yourself by clicking in that bottom left-hand corner. Let me try again here.
Unmute.
There we go.
Okay, I'm sorry about that. I was trying to unmute and I think I clicked it too many times. Sorry, my apologies.
No problem.
So the key here is that if institutions are already holding alligator snapping turtles prior to the listing date, they are covered under 50 CFR 17.4, which is the regulation that governs the holding of animals in a controlled environment that are not being held for commercial purposes. So they're considered pre-act, that kind of thing. There would be no further restrictions associated with those animals. When somebody asks how would it affect them, it really comes down to what are they planning to do with those animals, because once they're entered into a commercial activity of any kind, they lose that pre-act status and we would require permits for certain activities. So that's, it depends upon what they want to do with them. If all you're doing is holding an animal in captivity for captive breeding purposes and conducting normal husbandry practices, that's not prohibited under the Act at all. So there would be no additional restrictions on that. Let me know if that answered your question.
Great. Thank you, Karen, for that response. I'll go ahead and put you back on mute. And if anybody has any follow-up to a question that was asked previously, please feel free to send those over to Clayton McGee as well. For now, we'll go ahead and move on to our next question received, question number 5, which is, has the model used been ground truthed? And I'll go ahead and go to Erin Rivenbark with the service to respond to this question.
Hi there, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so there's a couple of questions embedded here and I'll try to respond to both of them. The model was actually peer reviewed in its own right. So we had people who actually peer reviewed that model. We did use actually both some initial estimates. Brian Folt was one of the people who provided initial estimates of abundance for that analysis unit, but also the base model that he developed was used as part of the model for this one. We did find some errors that were corrected, which resulted in a declining population from his initial model. Basically, overall, there was a declining trend in that analysis unit as well as several others. And the model itself was peer reviewed prior to release of the SSA.
Great. Thank you, Erin, for that response. I'll go ahead and put you back on mute, and we will move on to our additional questions received. All right, so we will move on to question number 6 from our participants. And the question is, where in the alligator snapping turtle's present range does the most poaching occur? And I will go back to Bridget Furman with the service to respond to that question.
Thank you, Amanda. We do not have information specific to one area. The information that we do have regarding poaching is info related to turtles that have been confiscated by law enforcement.
Great, thank you, Bridget, for that response. We'll see if Erin Rivenbark also has any input that she wants to provide on this response. Let me unmute you, Erin. There we go.
I was just going to say, we actually did ask experts and law enforcement, so we got some information, direct information about poaching from law enforcement, closed cases, but some of the experts also estimated poaching in different analysis units, and it occurred in several of the analysis units throughout the range.
Great, thank you, Erin, for that additional input. I'll go ahead and put you back on mute so that we can move on to our additional questions today. And again, I just saw a few new participants join. We are in the question and answer portion of our meeting today. So if you have a question that you would like to ask, you can go ahead and click on this chat icon located at the bottom of your Zoom screen. Please type and send your question then to Clayton McGee. I will read the question aloud for all participants to hear, and then, as we've been doing, a Fish and Wildlife Service member will come on and respond to that question. All right, so we will move on to question number 7 from participants, which is, where is bycatch occurring most in the commercial fishing sector? And I will go back to Bridget Furman to respond to that question.
Thank you, Amanda. We do not have details on any particular sector. Most of the information that we have for commercial fishing bycatch is scattered across the range. For example, we have some isolated observations in Arkansas, but for the most part, we had evidence in the southern and northern units, analysis units. My apologies for not being clear about that. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Bridget, for that response. We'll go ahead and move on to our next question here. So as we wait for additional questions to come in, again, you can ask a new question that you have on what was covered in Bridget's presentation, or if you have any follow-up to a question that was previously asked today, you can go ahead and also send that over to Clayton McGee. And again, if you have a question, please go ahead and send that over to Clayton McGee using that Zoom chat feature. And I'll keep a lookout for phone callers, but I don't see any who have joined yet. All right, so we will move on to question number 8 from participants, which is how would listing affect agencies that issue fishing licenses and recreational fishing in turtle habitat? And I will go back to Bridget Furman with the service to start us off with that response.
Thank you, Amanda. This is something that we are seeking input on during the public comment period, and we would review information that comes in so that we can better understand any potential fishing regulations that may be necessary to avoid or minimize bycatch impacts to the species. And we're also seeking information regarding new technologies or fishing methods that may be implemented to reduce the impact of bycatch due to recreational and commercial fishing gear. So this is something that we would like to have a continuous dialogue with the states about, and also any federal entities that may have fishing regulations.
Great, thank you, Bridget, for that response. We'll go ahead and move on to our additional questions received. I do see that we have quite a few questions coming in. So again, we're going to work our way through each of these individually until that 7:30 p.m. Central Time stop time, where we will then transition over into our verbal public comment portion. All right, we have question number 9 from our participants, which is, what are the primary factors causing the predicted decline in the lower Mississippi River Valley? And I will go back to Erin Rivenbark to get us started off with this response. Let's see, Erin, I've unmuted you from my end. I'll try again here. You might need to unmute yourself. There we go.
Sorry, I was actually in the process of trying to pull that unit up to take a look at it.
No problem. We can give you a minute here to look that up.
So there are 4 analysis units in the Mississippi Alluvial Valley, and that was the area we were looking at, right? Sorry
Yes.
about that. Okay. So this is for the lower Mississippi. Southern Mississippi, east and west, the predominant threats that were identified were incidental hooking, and nest predation, as well as commercial fishing and legal harvest in southern Mississippi East, as well as illegal harvest. So southern Mississippi East was a mix of multiple threats, and in the southern Mississippi West, it was predominantly incidental hooking and nest predation that came back from the expert responses.
Great. Thank you, Erin, for that response. I'll go ahead and put you back on mute so that we can move on to our next question here. All right, so question number 10 from our participants is, when does nesting occur and what kinds of favorable habitat do females look for? And let's see, I will go to David Castellanos with the Fish and Wildlife Service to start us off with that response.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
All right. Yeah, so most of the nesting usually occurs from May to July. In the southern part of the range, it can begin as early as April and extend through May. In the more northern and western parts of the range, it occurs more into May through June and early July. And the females look for a sandy substrate anywhere from 5 or 6 feet to over 600 feet away from the edge of the water.
Great, thank you, David, for that response. I'll go ahead and put you back on mute so that we can move on to our next question here. And let's see, I'll actually go to Lisa Yarborough with the Fish and Wildlife Service to see if she has any additional input on that previous question before we move on to our next one here. There we go, Lisa.
Yes, I agree with David, what he said. They do like this sandy loam area where it can be well drained, and they generally try to get above flooding areas, but they do not travel very far from the waterway, unlike many of the other aquatic turtles. So they nest relatively close to water's edge.
Great, thank you, Lisa, for that additional input. I'll go ahead and put you back on mute so that we can move on to our next question. Question number 11, which is, why do several counties without surveys in Alabama consider those counties historically occupied? And the questioner notes that it appears other states without surveys considered status of those areas as historically unknown. And let's see, I will go to Bridget Furman with the service to start us off with that response.
Thank you, Amanda. Each state was contacted to verify the range, the species range within the counties prior to the start of the analysis. With the help of USGS, they contacted each state to verify both the historical and the current occupancy.
Great, thank you, Bridget, for that response. I'll go ahead and put you back on mute so that we can move on to our next question. Again, we do have about 30 minutes remaining in our question and answer session. So if you have a question that you would like to ask on anything that was covered in the presentation, you can go ahead and click on that chat feature located at the bottom of your Zoom screen. And please send your questions over to Clayton McGee. All right, I will move on to question number 12 received from participants, which is if a zoo, nature center, aquarium, etc., want to exhibit an alligator snapping turtle after the listing date, can they legally obtain one? And if this is legally allowed, what permits are required? So I will go to Karen Marlowe with the Fish and Wildlife Service to respond to this question.
All right, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. If you're trying to obtain an animal via interstate commerce, you'll require a permit, except if this, I think the way that the threatened species rule was written, if they come from a bona fide captive breeding program and they're identified as such from a state licensed center, I believe they're trying to exempt them from that kind of permit. But in general, if you're obtaining them for educational purposes as a threatened species, you can do so without a permit unless you're entering into interstate commerce, as in purchasing them from across state lines or taking them from the wild.
Great, thank you, Karen. And I'll go ahead and keep you unmuted here for another similarly related permitting question, question number 13, which is what additional permits would be required for existing commercial facilities that are rearing alligator snapping turtles after listing?
There aren't, the Endangered Species Act does not require that you get permits once you already have something in your possession. Those facilities already holding them, just as I said in the previous one, they're going to be considered pre-act under that regulation I mentioned, 17.4, 50 CFR 17.4. If they offer them for sale, they lose that pre-act status under that exemption. And that's where certain things come into play, such as if you're, selling them in interstate commerce or exporting them. But in general, there's not going to be, we don't issue permits for people already rearing them.
Great, thank you, Karen, for those back-to-back responses. I'll go ahead and put you back on mute so that we can move on to our additional questions. So we have question number 14 from participants, which is, how will data from ongoing studies be incorporated into the ruling or 5-year review of the SSA? And I will go back to Bridget Furman with the service to respond to that.
Thank you, Amanda. So the way it works is every time we receive new information or an updated study, we will consider that in any 5-year status reviews down the road and or within the species status assessment report. So as we get new information in, we do update that species status assessment report.
Great, thank you, Bridget, for that response. I'll go ahead and put you back on mute as we work our way through our additional questions here. Again, please feel free to send your questions over to Clayton McGee. We're going to try to get through as many questions as we can in about our 25 minutes remaining here before we move into that verbal public comment portion. All right, we will move on to question number 15, which is, could you please clarify what the slide was saying about the consideration for an exception under 4D for the construction of maintenance activities? So I will go back to Bridget Furman to get us started off with this response.
Thank you, Amanda. The service is seeking comment on the provisions accepting incidental take resulting from construction, operation, and maintenance activities that follow best management practices, and whether they should be revised or clarified to remove or add information, including spatial or temporal restrictions or deferments, or add best management practices. Also, Section 7 is required regardless of whether any actions are accepted in a 4D rule. So if the action includes a federal nexus, the action requires consultation with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service according to the Endangered Species Act.
Great, thank you, Bridget, for that response. I'll go ahead and put you back on mute. And we will wait for our additional questions to come in today. All right, we're going to move on to question number 16, which I believe is either a repeated or very similar question to one that was asked earlier, but we're going to have a different Fish and Wildlife Service member come on and provide some additional detail to that response. So the question is, what are the primary factors causing the predicted decline in the lower Mississippi River Valley? And let's see, I'm going to go back to Aaron Rivenbark to respond to that question. There we go, Aaron.
Okay, so I'm looking here at substantial threats, and those are threats that are estimated to reduce survival rates of an age class by greater than 8% or 8% or more. And they would have to affect greater than 50% of the turtles within the unit. And so for southern Mississippi East, those threats are adult harvest, both legal and illegal, and nest predation. And southern Mississippi West is the incidental hooking and hook ingestion. And so I think that we were talking about Mississippi, the lower Mississippi alluvial valley, right? So those would correspond to southern Mississippi East and West, I believe. But those were the substantial threats in those units.
Great, thank you, Aaron, for that response. I'll go ahead and put you back on mute and we will move on to our next question here. All right, question number 17 from our participants, which is, since population demography data, such as population estimates and percentage survivability over time, largely do not exist for this species, what does the service intend or propose to do to help fill those knowledge gaps? And I will go back to Bridget Furman to respond to that question.
Thank you, Amanda. This is exactly the type of information that we are specifically requesting public comment on. So we would appreciate any and all information that the states or anyone else might have about this information. Also, we will base our determinations on the best available information that we have in our possession.
Great, thank you, Bridget, for that response. We'll go ahead and move on to our next question here. Again, we have just about 20 or so minutes remaining on our question and answer portion of today's meeting before we move into that verbal public comment portion of the meeting, during which time we will accept comments and no longer questions from participants. So if you have a question, please send it over to Clayton McGee using that Zoom chat feature. All right, so we have question number 18 from participants, which is the service aware of any other long-lived species with similar rates of population decreases? And I will go to Aaron Rivenbark to respond to that question.
Generally speaking, subturtle species, long-lived turtle species, are thought to have experienced steeper declines. Many people point to the Asian turtle crisis, for instance, where many turtle species were lost and, you know, that over decades, basically as a result of harvest. In areas where long-lived species are harvested, they do sometimes experience pretty steep declines. And so, I mean, thinking of examples, the Asian turtles come to mind.
Great, thank you, Aaron, for that response. I'll go ahead and put you back on mute and we'll move on to our next question. For our participant who just joined, as we wait for questions to come in via that chat feature, just wanted to let them know that we are in our question and answer session for another about just under 20 minutes or so here. So if you have a question that you would like to ask Fish and Wildlife Service staff members, you can do so by selecting the chat icon located at the bottom of your Zoom screen, and then sending your question over to the host of today's meeting, Clayton McGee. All right, so we will move on to question number 19 from participants, which is, what states would have BMPs for alligator snapping turtles, and where would that be found? The BMPs that exist for states are likely for DOTs and are not stringent. So will the Fish and Wildlife Service have a stringency standard for BMPs? And I will go back to Bridget Furman with the service to start us off with that response.
Thank you, Amanda. This is another area where we are specifically seeking comments, and we'll work with the states on this. There are some DOTs that do have best management practices to protect aquatic species like mussels, and some of those might also benefit alligator snapping turtles. So we will definitely be working with the states to consider those. We are also, there are some that we are already working with states on this, but those BMPs are not quite ready for release. And we will also look at best management practices that may need to be broader in terms of seasonality. that might otherwise be in place for mussels and fish species, etc. But again, this is something that we would definitely want to work hand in hand with the states on.
Great. Thank you, Bridget, for that response. I'll go ahead and put you back on mute as we move on to our additional questions here. All right, we will move on to question number 20 from our participants, which is, with such a high rate of population decrease, what are some options that are being considered for the recovery plan? And I will go back to David Castellanos to respond to that question. Let's see, David, I've unmuted you from my end. Let me try again here. You might need to unmute yourself. There we go.
Okay. All righty. I would just say it's a little early yet to know what we're going to have in the recovery plan, but you know, there's lots of things that we would do to try to reduce the threats, which would help in recovery. You know, including what we talked about, minimizing harvest and bycatch, and also, you know, the one thing that we saw a spike in changing trajectory of that decline was inputs of releases. So you know, with a sustained release, that could possibly have an effect, a positive effect. So that was something else that will be considered for the recovery plan.
Great, thank you, David, for that response. I'll go ahead and put you back on mute so that we can move on to our additional questions here. All right, we will move on to question number 21 from our participants, which is, how long does it take for the eggs to hatch? And let's see, I will go back to Aaron Rivenbark to start us off with that response.
Sorry about that.
No problem.
It varies. The rate is variable across the range, and it is dependent on temperature, but it can be in the range of about 96 to 120-ish days. I think we've got several different studies. So ranging from in the 90s all the way up to 143 days.
Great, thank you, Aaron. I'll go ahead and put you back on mute, and I will go down to Lisa Yarbrough with the Fish and Wildlife Service to see if she has any additional input.
No, Aaron is spot on. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you, Lisa. All right, in that case, we will go ahead and move on to our next question from participants. I did see one or two participants just join. Just wanted to let those participants know that we are still in our question and answer portion of today's meeting. So if you have a question that you would like to ask, please go ahead and access that chat feature located at the bottom of your Zoom screen. And then you can type and send your question over to Clayton McGee. And again, we do have just under about 15 minutes remaining here, or about 15 minutes remaining in our question and answer session. So if you have any questions that you would like us to ask and respond to for the group, please let us know by accessing that Zoom chat feature and sending your question over to Clayton McGee. All right, we'll move on to question number 22, which is what are the current head starting efforts throughout the range? How much head starting effort would be needed to maintain a stable population in this model? And I will go back to Erin Rivenbark to get us started off with that response.
Sorry, I always have too many screens open at once.
No problem.
So we didn't directly model exactly how many would be needed. Part of that is just the context of the modeling effort. The one unit that did have some reintroduction going on, I believe, was Northern Mississippi. They were doing a head starting study there at the time, and that was included in the model because it's already going on. And the challenge is that it would need to be sustained. And they're planning to stop the reintroduction at some point, and the population, based on the model, would start to decline at that point, which I believe is consistent with what they found in the PBA they developed there too. Tishomingo National Fish Hatchery is currently producing turtles that are being used in reintroduction efforts in some states and for zoos and aquaria. So there are institutions that are currently working on that, and some states have tried head starting. But I don't have the exact numbers off the top of my head for how many would be needed to sort of stabilize the populations in the model, unfortunately, because we didn't model that directly.
Great, thank you, Erin, for that response. I'll go ahead and put you back on mute as we move on to our next question here. All right, question number 23 from participants is, could distinct populations be considered, to differentiate units of greatest threat from areas without adequate data to complete future condition modeling? And I will go to Christy Young with the service to respond to that question.
Yes, good evening. We did not consider, I think the question is getting at distinct population segments. One of the parts of the Endangered Species Act that we can list a species by a species, subspecies, or distinct population segment of a vertebrate. We looked at the species range wide, and we did not look at any subunits of it. So that was because we were petitioned to consider listing the species as a whole.
Great, thank you, Christy, for that response. I'll go ahead and put you back on mute. And we'll see if we have any additional questions coming in today. We have about 10 minutes remaining here. So if you have a question you would like to ask, please send it over to Clayton McGee using that Zoom chat feature. All right, question number 24 from participants is, the AST condition modeling uses, quote, highly uncertain estimates from expert opinion for rates and processes. Is it reasonable to expect the output of those models to be equally uncertain? And I will go back to Erin Rivenbark to respond to that question.
I did not directly develop the model, but I'll do the best I can here. So this model actually does use demographic data to inform some of the population parameters. Where we had that data available, we used it. We did have to fill in some things with expert opinion, but we also put some bounds around that expert opinion in case the experts were off in their initial estimates. Because that was an acknowledgement that the experts themselves said there could, be more or less than what I'm estimating here. And so we actually tried to incorporate that uncertainty into the model. And it didn't change the overall trajectories that we were seeing. So we did make every effort to include some of that uncertainty in the actual modeling and develop a model that accounted for that uncertainty. We only did estimates for the units that we felt we had sufficient information to do those estimates for. That's why some of the analysis units weren't actually modeled. So we did try to take steps. We also, again, verified some of the parameters after the fact using other modeling efforts, and also we had the actual model peer reviewed as well. So.
Great, thank you, Erin. I'll go ahead and keep you unmuted here for our next question, question number 25, which is how significant is commercial fishing gear such as gill nets and hoop nets in the predicted decline?
Is this one me again? I'm sorry.
Yes, yeah, sorry, I left you unmuted there.
Sorry about that.
No problem.
So the way that we estimated this, I don't believe we actually separated by gear type. We were looking at bycatch as an overall rate, and I don't think we actually sorted it by gear type, but it's the top threat in 2 of the units, according to the experts. So I'd have to go back into the actual SSA. We did a much more detailed write-up there to pull a full answer for someone for this one. Sorry, that one caught me a little out there. I didn't see it until after I'd answered the other one.
No problem. Thanks, Erin, for those back-to-back responses. I'll go ahead and put you back on mute here. And we're going to do our best to try to work our way through our remaining questions here. We have about 5 minutes remaining. All right, so we will move on to question number 26, which is because each isolated river drainage is a genetically discrete population, will captive bred individuals in future or potential reintroduction programs be genetically matched with the rivers they are being released into? And I will go to Bridget Furman to respond to that question.
Thank you, Amanda. Yes, this would be the ideal option that we would like. The goal would be to preserve the unique genetic identity of the populations. And in order to do that, we would encourage that individuals would be genetically matched to their locations.
Great, thank you, Bridget, for that response. I'll go ahead and put you back on mute so that we can move on to our next question here. And again, we have just a few minutes remaining here before we move on to our verbal public comment portion. But we're going to try and work our way through these last questions here. All right, so question number 27 is, how does the service intend to provide solutions for the threat of legal fishing activities? Will the service work with states to designate waterways of high species priority and limit fishing in these systems? And I will go back to Bridget Furman to get us started off with that response.
The service plans to work with states to address fishing regulations that will provide a benefit to the conservation of the alligator snapping turtle. This may include modifications to fishing gear and requirements to label and check lines and traps to reduce bycatch or reporting provisions for angler encounters.
Great, thank you, Bridget, for that response. I'll go ahead and put you back on mute here. We'll try and work our way through these last few questions. But as everyone maybe just saw in the Zoom chat feature, if participants do have additional questions that we did not have the opportunity to respond to today, the service encourages you to submit those questions at the email address provided, which is alligatorsnappingturtle@fws.gov. So if you have any follow-up to a question that was previously asked or a question that didn't get responded to today, again, you can send it to that email address. All right, we'll move on to question number, 28 from participants, which is, could the service consider listing distinct population segments of the alligator snapping turtle in the final rule? And I will go back to Christy Young with the service to respond to that.
Thank you, Amanda. As I mentioned earlier, we did not consider distinct population segments, and we did not propose, proposing to list the species range wide. The Act does not have a mechanism to necessarily just go direct to final with some other, some other option with that. We would have to repropose one or more distinct population segments and then finalize to go that route.
Great, thank you, Christy, for that response. All right, we have question number 29 from participants, which is, how will the service handle if and when the alligator snapping turtle gains species status? Let's see, and I'll go to Aaron Rivenbark to respond to this question.
Am I unmuted, Amanda? Sorry.
Yes, you are.
At present, we haven't gotten any indication that Apalachicola is a distinct species. At Teminkiai, if it were listed, would be listed throughout the known range, which would include those areas in the Florida Panhandle, Western Georgia, and Eastern Alabama. I assume if Apalachicola gains species status, we'd need to evaluate the situation at that time. But right now, we have no indication that that is the case.
Thank you, Aaron, and sorry for the confusion on my part. I misread that species, but thank you for that response there. And let's see, we've just about reached our time, so let's see if we have just a few more minutes here to respond to our questions, or if we're going to need to move on here shortly. All right, I'll move on to question 30 here, which is, are you lumping hooking and netting together when looking at commercial fishing impacts? And I will go back to David Castellanos to respond to that. Let's see, there we go. Let's see, let me unmute you again. David, you might need to unmute yourself from your end. There we go.
Okay, so the commercial and recreational bycatch estimates were separate, but the methods are lumped. So we had considered all those things bycatch. When you talk about hooking and netting, of course, where it's legal, it would be catch, I guess. But all those things we would consider bycatch. But we did look at the impacts of commercial and recreational separate. We also looked at hook ingestion rates, and all of those things would be considered impacts.
Great, thank you, David, for that response. All right, we are going to move on to our last question here that we've received that we're going to respond to today. Question number 31, which is, have you considered monitoring one of the populations or all of the populations for the next few years to determine if modeled population estimates are realistic? And I will go, let's see, first to Aaron Rivenbark to respond to this question.
Hi, sorry, I may still have some background noise here. I apologize.
No problem.
I mean, we rely on the best available scientific and commercial information for developing any listing packages. Presumably, I mean, there are studies going on throughout the range of the species. As I mentioned, we did have a study where PBA was developed during the course of the SSA, and it came out with very similar estimates from what I recall to what was modeled in that particular unit. But we have to rely on the best available scientific information at the time we develop the finding. And so that's what we've tried to do here. And so that's what we did rely on for the recommendation.
Great,
There
thank
are,
you. Oh,
sorry,
keep going.
go ahead. No, I was just going to say there are studies going on within the range of the species. So.
Great, thank you, Aaron, for that response. I'll go ahead and put you back on mute. And so as I just said, at this time, those are all the questions that we're going to respond to. But again, if you have any additional questions that we didn't get to today, please feel free to send them to that email address that Clayton shared via the Zoom chat feature. Since it is, let's see, 7:36 p.m. Central Time, we are going to officially move into the verbal public comment portion of today's meeting to receive comments related to the proposed listing and 4D rule for the alligator snapping turtle. In addition to all of the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service staff members who just responded to questions during our question and answer session. Again, if you go to your participants list, you can see the additional staff members who are present and actively listening to your comments today. I do want to note in particular that Nicole Rankin, who is the manager of Division of Classification, is with us on the Zoom call today. She is the official representative who is listening to your comments today from the service. So again, this verbal public comment portion of the meeting, along with your comments, is being recorded as part of the official record. And as a reminder, your camera and microphone control settings are restricted during this time. So you will only be able to talk if and when you are unmuted. So please remember to speak when prompted. The Fish and Wildlife Service wants to hear from all members of the public, so we will be using the following guidelines today. First, please be mindful of the length of your comment so that everyone who wants to speak has an opportunity to do so today. Second, please be respectful of others and their viewpoints. And third, please refrain from using profanity. While passion is welcome in your comment, policy requires that we mute anyone who uses foul language because we are recording this meeting and others may be live streaming. So please avoid inappropriate language. If that does happen, we'll provide a reminder before unmuting the person to try again using words acceptable to ears of all ages. All right, I'm now going to read through the instructions for those participants who indicated they wanted to offer a comment when they pre-registered for today's meeting. We have a list of these participants, and comments will be accepted in the order that people registered. Again, as I said at the beginning of the meeting, if you registered before the start time of today's meeting, you received a separate email informing you that you would be called upon to offer your comment. This email also included your place in the commenter list. If you are on this list, when it is your turn to provide your comment, we will read your name aloud from the list and display your name on the screen. We will also display the name of the commenter who is next in line. When you hear your name called out, please use the raise hand feature so that we know you are available and ready to offer your comment. You can access the raise hand feature by clicking on either the reactions icon or the participants list icon, which are both located at the bottom of your Zoom screen. Again, if you wave your mouse back and forth or exit out of that full screen view in Zoom, these icons should appear for you. You can then select the raise hand feature located either in the reactions icon or at the bottom of your participants list. Or if we have any phone callers who might need to call in, you can press *9 on your phone keypad to access the same raise hand feature. Once you have raised your hand, you will be unmuted so that you can provide your comment. You may be double muted, so if that is the case, we will prompt you to unmute yourself on your end so that we can hear you. Please spell out your first and last name for the record before providing your comment, and state if you are representing an organization or group. After you have provided your comment, we will put you on mute and move on to our next commenter. Again, once we have worked our way through the current list of pre-registered commenters, if we have time, we will move on to those who registered after the start time of today's meeting, who selected they wanted to offer a comment. If we still have time remaining after we have worked our way through those participants, we will then open the verbal public comment portion of today's meeting to anyone who would like to offer a comment who has not already done so. And I don't think I said so before, but I did say so in the commenter emails to please aim to keep your comment limited to approximately 5 minutes today. We'll come on and let you know when you've reached that 5 minutes and give you a few additional minutes to wrap up. But again, we want to make sure that we are giving everyone an opportunity to do so today who would like to provide a comment. So as you can see on the screen here, again, I've just included some graphics showing participants where they can find that Zoom reactions icon at the bottom of your Zoom screen. You can then access the raise hand feature there. Or for older versions of Zoom, it might be in this participants list icon, and it'll then be at the bottom of your participants list. So at this time, I'm now going to turn it over to Clayton McGee with EMPSI, who is going to be acting as our primary moderator for the verbal public comment portion of today's meeting.
Great, thank you, Amanda. Can you hear me all right? Is there any static or anything?
There's a little bit of feedback, so maybe just lean back a little bit from your computer, but I can hear you.
Okay, cool, thank you. Good evening, everyone, and thanks for joining. As Amanda said, my name is Clayton McGee. I'm going to be the moderator for the verbal public comment portion of today's meeting. Before you begin, Before you begin your comment, I will ask you to spell your first and last name for the record. After that, I will give you notice that you can go ahead and provide your comment. Please try to limit your comments to about 5 minutes to be respectful of others who wish to provide comments today. Please do not start providing your comment until I have given you the notice that you can begin. This notice will mark the beginning of your 5 minutes. I will come back on at the end of your 5 minutes to let you know your time is up and to please wrap up your public comment. So with that, my bad, sorry, I hear that I was cutting out a little there, so my apologies. But with that, we're gonna move on to our first commenter, Elise Bennett. Elise, if you are on the call, could you please access the raised hand feature? And I do see that you raised your hand, so I'm gonna go ahead and ask you to unmute yourself. And please let me know if you can hear me.
Good evening.
Hi, I can hear you. Could you please spell your first and last name? And if you represent an organization, please.
Yes, my name is Elise Bennett. I'm a senior attorney speaking on behalf of the Center for Biological Diversity.
Great. Your time has started now.
Thank you. The center supports the service's finding that the alligator snapping turtle warrants protection under the Endangered Species Act. However, in view of serious concerns with overly broad take exceptions proposed in the Section 4D rule, we ask that you not adopt the rule as proposed. Instead, to meaningfully provide for the conservation of the species, we ask you to narrow and in some instances remove the broad exceptions for activities that cause take. We also encourage you to designate critical habitat for the species. First, turning to the 4D rule. With regard to the take exception for state authorized farming and captive breeding facilities, we emphasize that this exception should not be finalized unless and until the service has ensured each state has an effective mechanism to differentiate captively bred turtles from wild caught ones. Turtle traffickers have successfully used turtle farms and breeding facilities to obscure turtle trafficking operations in states within the alligator snapping turtles range, with several documented instances in the state of Florida alone. We also ask that the service remove the overly broad take exception for construction, forestry, and pesticide and herbicide uses that implement industry or state best management practices, or BMPs. Because BMPs vary by state and industry and are often merely vague suggestions with no meaningful benchmark for minimization and mitigation, this exception in the 4D rule is untenably broad and allows for activities that are contrary to the conservation of the alligator snapping turtle and its habitat. To provide just brief examples, Louisiana and Mississippi, both within the turtles range, have forestry BMPs, meaning forestry activities in these states could likely be largely exempt under the 4D rule. However, these BMPs merely encourage the avoidance of disruptive activities like construction of stream crossings, and many other recommendations are inherently vague. For example, Louisiana's BMPs suggest that using equipment in stream beds should be kept, quote, to an absolute minimum, which is a highly subjective and relative standard that ultimately allows the use of heavy equipment and fails to articulate even a bare minimum level of protection. Both state BMPs also appear to recommend the removal of woody debris from streams, which is contrary to the conservation of the alligator snapping turtle, a species that uses submerged woody debris as an important habitat feature. We will provide more detailed comments and examples in our written comments, but the short of it is that the proposed take exception for numerous activities that use BMPs is too broad to promote the alligator snapping turtle's conservation. And at a minimum, we suggest the service conduct a comprehensive review and specify all BMPs it intends to rely on in the proposed take exception to ensure that they actually do support the conservation of the turtle. Without that review, it would be arbitrary to make this vast and broad exception, particularly when we can already point to examples where BMPs do not appear to support the species conservation. And finally, we ask that the service exclude from the 4D rule a take exception for incidental take for turtles from otherwise lawful commercial and recreational fishing, because current lawful fishing methods in states within the species range risk harming or killing individual turtles. For example, Florida currently allows several indiscriminate fishing methods, such as hoop nets, trot lines, and bush hooks, and dead turtles have been observed incidentally captured by these methods. Similar fishing methods are also authorized in other states in the turtles range, and until effective geographic restrictions or bycatch reduction measures are put in place for these methods, fishing simply shouldn't be widely accepted from the take prohibition. And finally, I'll turn to critical habitat. We support the service's determination that designating critical habitat may be prudent, and we urge the agency to designate critical habitat as soon as possible. Designating critical habitat is not only likely to increase designating critical habitat is not likely to increase the risk of illegal collection because the service can designate it without disclosing the exact known location of turtles, as has been done for other species. Moreover, a significant amount of more specific information about the turtles' locations and habitat is already accessible through publicly available scientific literature. Accordingly, the service's designation of critical habitat would not likely provide any new information that would increase the risk of illegal collection. More importantly, designating critical habitat would benefit the alligator snapping turtle because, as the service has acknowledged, habitat alteration is a primary threat to the species that's likely to further reduce its viability. These benefits outweigh any negligible risk that designating critical habitat might pose. And with that, I'll bring it to a close. Thank you for this opportunity for this public hearing and the opportunity to provide comments. We will provide more specific information as well as contact information in our written comments in case you have any further questions. Have a great evening.
Great, thank you for your comment. Next, we're going to move on to our second public commenter from our pre-registered list, Robert Stephenson. Robert, if you're on the call, could you please access the raised hand feature at the bottom of your screen? And if you are on the phone, which I don't believe we have any phone callers today, please press star 9. But it looks like I'm not seeing anyone named Robert Stephenson on the call today. So if you're potentially going by a different last name, we'll just give it a few more seconds to see if anyone raises their hand. And I'm not getting any messages or any raised hands on my side. So we're going to go ahead and move on to our next pre-registered commenter, John Posse. Sorry if I mispronounced your last name there. If you are on the call, could you please access the raised hand feature on the bottom of the screen? I do see that you are on our participant list today, John. So I'm going to go ahead and ask you to unmute. Let me know if you're having any.
Hello,
Hello, I can hear you, John.
John Posey, John Posey.
Okay, your time has started now.
Okay. I live in Louisiana in an area where the turtle is common. I do not believe the turtle should be declared threatened throughout its entire range just because it is in some areas. In my experience, the number one cause of turtle mortality is accidental drowning by commercial fishermen, namely hoop nets, trot lines, and lastly, nets. If you outlaw commercial fishing in Louisiana, the state will fight you tooth and nail. I really don't know what the answer would be. I guess in a make-believe world, if you could make a commercial fisherman check his hoop net every 2 to 3 hours, then you could prevent accidental drowning. And that's the end of my comment. Thank you for letting me comment, and have a good night.
John. With that, we've come to the end of our pre-registered commenters for our public comment portion of the meeting. With that, I just wanted to say to our pre-registered commenters, and I'm going to briefly turn it over to Amanda again.
Thank you, Clayton. Yes, so we have reached the end of our list of pre-registered commenters who registered before the start time of today's meeting, who said, in the question of whether you would like to provide a verbal public comment, they checked yes to that. So we have worked our way through that entire list at this point. I did just check my Zoom account, and I don't see anyone who registered after the start time of today's meeting who said that they wanted to offer a verbal public comment. So at this time, if we do have anyone who would like to offer a verbal public comment who has not already done so, please go ahead and access the raise hand feature located again, either in that reactions icon at the bottom of your Zoom screen or in your participants list at the bottom of your Zoom screen. I'll flip back here briefly. If you would like to offer a verbal public comment today, regardless of whether you selected yes or no when you registered, since we do have time remaining on our meeting, we would love to accept those comments from any participants who are interested today. So I'll give those participants a few minutes here to decide if they would like to offer a verbal public comment today. And we'll just go through a very similar method that we just went through. We will put your Zoom name up on the screen, ask you to spell your first and last name aloud for the record, state whether you are affiliated with an organization or group, and then you can provide your verbal public comment. And again, I'll just give folks a few minutes here to decide if they want to offer a verbal public comment before I describe next steps for the remainder of our time on the meeting today. If you're having any issues with accessing that raise hand feature, please feel free to send a chat message directly to me, Amanda Biederman, and we'll make sure that you can provide your comment today. All right, I don't see any raised hands from our participants at this time. So at this point, I'm going to kind of walk us through how we're going to approach the remaining about, let's see, 35 minutes or so left on our meeting. So at this time, we are going to move into this last slide here. And we will remain on this slide unless I see any raised hands from either current participants who are on our meeting who would like to offer a comment, or if we get any new participants join who want to offer a comment. At this time, I'm going to invite Bridget back on to provide some closing remarks. However, I do want to note, and as you can see on the screen, this Zoom meeting will stay up and running until our advertised 8:30 p.m. Central end time. This is just your opportunity, since we don't have any additional commenters at this time. If you would like to leave the meeting a little bit early, you are welcome to do so. Again, this entire meeting is being recorded and will be posted online, or you are welcome to stay with us until our 8:30 p.m. Central time. I'll come on and make periodic announcements about every 10 to 15 minutes or so, letting everyone know that we remain on the line and available to accept verbal public comments. But at this time, I'm going to turn it over to Bridget Furman with the service to provide just some last thoughts and closing remarks.
Thank you so much, Amanda. I want to thank everyone on the call today for your time and attendance at tonight's session, and for your interest in the conservation and recovery of the alligator snapping turtle. A recording of tonight's meeting will be available on the docket at regulations.gov. And thank you all so much for being here.
Great, thank you, Bridget. So as Bridget just noted, again, you can submit your written comments at regulations.gov. You're welcome to stay with us until that 8:30 p.m. Central end time, or you are welcome to leave the meeting a little bit early at this point. Again, I want to thank everyone for joining us, and I'll come back on in about 10 or so minutes to see if anybody would like to offer a verbal public comment. But again, you can let us know before then by accessing that raise hand feature or sending a chat message either directly to me or to Clayton McGee. Thanks, everyone. Hi, everyone. It is 8:00 p.m. Central Time. The Fish and Wildlife Service will remain on the meeting until 8:30 p.m. Central Time to accept verbal public comments from participants. If you would like to offer a verbal public comment at this time, please let us know by accessing the raise hand feature or by sending a Zoom chat message either to Clayton McGee or me, Amanda Biederman. Thank you. All right, I do see that we have a raised hand, so I'm going to go ahead and flip back to our slide here, and I will turn it over to Clayton McGee to lead us back through that comment.
Great, thanks, Amanda. I see that one of our participants named Troy Malik has raised their hand, so I'm going to go ahead and ask you to unmute yourself, Troy.
Yep, can you hear me?
I can hear you, Troy. All right.
Thanks, Thanks, Clayton.
My bad. I was. Are you wanting to make a public comment?
Sure. First, I just want to say great job, Bridget. Appreciate the opportunity to comment on the alligator snapping turtle listing. I wanted to say, the modeling is a concern to me, and I know that models are only as good as the information that goes into them, and this questionnaire with species experts is nowhere near as robust as peer-reviewed science. So I'm really suspect of the steep declines that the model's predicting, and I would recommend that the service monitors some of those populations over the next couple of years, and then compares the results of that monitoring to see if that model is really accurate. So again, I appreciate you guys' time tonight, and thanks for letting me comment.
Great, thank you, Troy, and thank you for your public comment. We appreciate it. Once again, if there's anyone else who would like to make a verbal public comment that is still with us in the meeting, we encourage you to do so. Please access the raised hand feature at the bottom of the screen if you would also like to make an additional public comment. And it doesn't look like I'm seeing anyone raising their hands, and I'm also not getting any messages from any participants right now. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn it back over to Amanda. Once again, thank you all for your participation and your comments tonight.
Thanks, Clayton. I've just flipped back over to this screen here. We'll stay here again until we see any raised hands from participants. We do have about 20 minutes remaining on our meeting. So again, if you want to offer a verbal public comment, please let us know by accessing that raise hand feature. Thank you. I saw we just had a new participant join, so I just wanted to remind everyone who is still on the meeting. We are still in the verbal public comment portion of the meeting. We have worked our way through our list of pre-registered commenters. So we have opened up the verbal public comment portion to anyone who would like to offer a comment. So if you'd like to offer a comment this evening, please let us know by accessing the raise hand feature at the bottom of your Zoom screen, either in your reactions icon or in your participants list, or you can send a chat message directly to Clayton McGee. Thank you. I just saw that we had another participant join. So again, I wanted to let everyone know that we are in the verbal public comment portion of our meeting tonight. If you would like to make a verbal public comment, you can let us know by accessing the raise hand feature, either in your Zoom reactions icon at the bottom of your participants list, or by sending a Zoom chat message directly to Clayton McGee. We have about 15 minutes remaining on our meeting time. So again, if you want to make a verbal public comment, please let us know. Thank you. Hi, everyone. We have a little under 10 minutes remaining on our virtual public meeting today. If you would like to offer a verbal public comment, please let us know by accessing the raise hand feature or by sending a chat message directly to Clayton McGee. Thank you. Hi, everyone. It is 8:30 p.m. Central Time. So at this time, I'm going to officially close out the meeting. Again, the service wants to thank everyone for your great questions and comments and participation today, and I hope you have a great rest of your evening.